Hey guys, this is Austin. Is the new Google Pixel worth it? Wow! On top of the standard white and black colors, there's also very blue. And you know what? They're not kidding. That is very, very blue. So my first impression is that this kind of looks like an iPod Touch. So you've got the white front, you've got the fairly large sort of iPhone, iPod-like bezel from the front, and then around back, you get that stupidly bright blue color. You know, I kind of dig it. So we get a SIM tool and some paperwork. You know what, I was about to throw all this paperwork away, but you actually get 3 free months of Google Play Music with YouTube Red. So if you guys haven't tried YouTube Red yet, give it a try, 3 months. Now, that's actually a nice little touch that they've got the power brick matching the very blue phone. That's cool, I appreciate that. Next, we have the Google Pixel XL. So you can think of this as the bigger brother to the normal Pixel. So it's pretty much the same way that there's the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus. It's essentially the same phone, but you're getting a couple small upgrades like a bigger screen, and you're also getting a bigger battery. However, if you pull it out of the box, you see that it looks basically the same. Not exactly a bad thing though. This is a very interesting design. At first glance, it looks super, I don't want to say generic, but very forgettable, I guess. However, when you look around back, you get this giant window. So it's kind of color coded, so you can see this one's white, this one's sort of a lighter blue. But what they're doing here is something kind of interesting. There's actually a taper. So at the bottom of the phone, it's much thinner than it is at the top. And I think they do that to keep you from having a camera hump. I will say the white front isn't super flattering to the Pixel. So this is a phone with large bezels. Now it's not crazy, it's about the same size as what you would get on the iPhone. However, there at least you're getting an actual home button. Here, this is literally just wasted space. I feel like they could put a speaker or something, or just gotten rid of it altogether. I kind of like the idea of having the fingerprint sensor on the back of the phone. I feel like while it makes sense to be on the home button, it's kind of a little bit more convenient. I mean, if it's sitting on the table, it's a little bit difficult to kind of unlock the phone, but most of the time, it's sitting in your hand, your finger's already there, so I'm a big fan. There's some nice touches with the hardware here. The power button actually has a satisfying click and it's textured, so even if it's in your pocket, you can pull it out and quickly know which button you're pressing. And the whole phone feels very sturdy. It might not be the most unique piece of hardware I've ever seen, but this definitely feels like a premium device. The issue is, there are $400 phones that feel just as premium, and this is a whole lot more. So the Pixels are expensive, and that's an interesting strategy because I feel like one of the most popular Nexuses of all time, the Nexus 5, really was so huge because it was a great phone at a budget price. These are not budget at all. So you're talking about over $600 for the Pixel and over $700 for the Pixel XL. And that's with 32 gigs of storage. You can bump these things up to $128 for another $100. They had better be good for that price. So after playing with the Pixel phones for a while, the first thing that jumps out to me is the performance. These things are fast. So inside you're getting the standard high-end Android stuff. You've got a Snapdragon 821, 4 gigabytes of RAM. It's a speedy phone on paper. And if you look at the benchmarks, it might not quite match up to the iPhone 7. However, it's definitely up there. The thing that jumps out to me though is that it actually feels fast. So if you look at something like the Galaxy S7, which on paper is very similar, there's a little bit of lag. It's not quite as responsive as something like the Pixel, which really seems like Google spent the time to optimize it and make it really as fast as possible. Something else that's been impressive is the battery life. So I spent most of my time with the regular Pixel, and even though it has a smaller battery than the XL, it's actually held up really well. I've been able to make it through a full day no problem. The software experience is nice and clean though. So if you get the Verizon model, you will find a couple extra apps, however they're all totally uninstallable. Bottom line, if you get a Pixel, you should expect a very, very clean build of Android. These guys are also rocking great screens. So the regular Pixel has a 5-inch AMOLED display with a 1080p resolution, where the XL bumps that up to 5.5 inches and 1440p. They're both great displays. The biggest difference really is that resolution for VR. So if you get into Google Daydream, which is the big new Google VR initiative, you're gonna see that while 1080p looks fine as a normal phone, the 1440p is going to look a lot better when you strap a VR headset on. However, unless you're really into VR, you're really not gonna tell a major difference. Both phones are nice and sharp. I generally do like the hardware of the Pixel, however my biggest issue is the lack of waterproofing, which is something you'll find on the iPhone and S7. However, my buddy John actually did a full water test, and it actually didn't do too badly. However, between the lack of water resistance and all the glass all over the place, it might be a little fragile, and that's where my friends at Rhino Shield come in. So when they reached out and wanted to sponsor a video, I was totally down. I usually don't like to do drop tests, however this thing is a little special. It might not look like much, however this simple bumper is going to give us some serious protection. So not only does it have a lip to cover both the front and rear, but it also has a custom material and a honeycomb built inside, which means that in theory, this should survive an 11-foot drop test.
So to put the Pixel to the test, it's time for a drop test. So this is about 10 feet or so, I'd say, onto solid concrete. So, in 3, 2, 1. Oh! All right. And, oh, it's still even recording. I mean, it's a little dirty from the floor, but honestly, I think it's fine. Screen still works. Yeah, totally good. So this thing is no joke. Now, on top of it being available for the Pixel XL, you can also get the Rhino Shield for something like an iPhone, Galaxy S7, OnePlus 3. It's pretty legit. All right, so I'm curious about the cameras on the Pixel. So I have my good buddy Lamar here, and he was lucky enough to bring his car, so we're gonna use that as the first camera sample.
Clearly fit in this.
That's a thing right there. Glad you're rolling in style today. So from what I've heard, what they're doing is it's constantly taking pictures like nonstop raw. Okay. And when you hit the shutter button, it just takes that frame and then goes and grabs a couple, merges it in HDR. Okay. So you pretty much always are taking shots.
So it's processing in the background.
Exactly. So when you hit the shutter button, all it's saying is, hey, look, this is the point where I actually want to save. So that's why it's like immediately taking stuff. So something interesting about the Pixels is that they shoot 4K with supposedly some really good stabilization. Okay, we are now recording on the Pixel. Ken looking like a mild cyborg.
Hi.
Whoa. That's a little too crispy.
Yeah, that's too crispy.
Actually, wow, this looks really nice.
Yeah, you're gonna see all the parts I missed for shaving. This is not good.
It's okay, we'll from here. Dude, this actually looks really nice. There's like some actual depth of field. Like those trees behind you look really nice. So one thing with the Pixel phones is that unlike the iPhone, where you actually get a pretty major difference between the Plus and normal 7, these cameras are completely identical. The camera app is a lot better here. I never really liked the normal Google camera apps. Hi, Mom.
Your mom watches this.
She watches you.
Does she really?
Yes, she does.
Well, I am.
I mean, it's hard not
famous.
to watch you.
Yeah.
Subscribe to youtube.com/WilsonTech1.
That's not the.
Most important thing though, how does it selfie?
Oh, that looks good.
No, this is actually really nice. And you can see the HDR, it's like pulling some of the highlight detail from the trees.
Yeah.
So, is the Google Pixel worth it? Sort of. Sure, it would be nice if it had a little bit more of a distinctive design with less bezel, and the waterproofing would be nice. However, honestly, there's really not a lot to complain about. I think it's easy to say that this is the best Android phone out there, and honestly, it can really hang right with the iPhone. So, if you're looking for a super awesome, dope, legit, ridiculously solid, incredibly impressive, magical, phenomenal, terrific phone. No. So what do you guys think about the Google Pixel? Definitely be sure to let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos like this, definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching and I will catch you in the next one.